Hello, welcome to D-Transit and welcome back to This Week in Transit. This week, we'll take a look at increasing ridership levels in the United States, a monumental strike in New Jersey, the reopening of a New York City subway segment, legislature pushes to both improve and kill rail services, and expansions in the states and around the world. Before we begin, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and comment below if there are any topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. Without further ado, here's This Week in Transit. We start at a national view of the United States. The American Public Transportation Association, or APTA, each year publishes the Public Transportation Fact Book to highlight public transit statistics from throughout the 50 states. Their most recent edition, from 2024, highlighted a whopping 7.7 billion passenger trips taken on American public transit in 2024. 491 million more than the previous year. This puts countrywide transit recovery at 85% of pre-pandemic numbers, with smaller cities under 100,000 people having recovered to 88% of pre-pandemic ridership. The pre-pandemic percentage is particularly important when you factor in that the occupancy rate of office buildings is at 52% of pre-pandemic rates, a strong showing of how people are using public transit for more than just commuting. Other important segments of the fact book highlighted that public transport in America delivered $5 in economic output for every $1 invested. Bus accessibility was also up countrywide, up to 99.8%, up from 95% in 2004. Let's zoom into the Northeast, to the most densely populated state in the country, New Jersey. The third largest American commuter rail system, New Jersey Transit, experienced a strike for the first time in 40 years, as employees of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen walked off the job at 12:01 a.m. on May 16th. The strike was largely a result of mismatched wage expectations from the two sides. The union has been operating under a contract that expired 6 years ago, which means wages haven't increased at all in the last 6 years, while the cost of living has increased roughly 20%. Thankfully, the strike lasted for just 4 full days in total. On Sunday, New Jersey Transit leadership and union leaders tentatively agreed to a labor contract, effectively ending the strike. New Jersey Transit rail operations returned on Tuesday, taking 24 hours to inspect infrastructure after 72 hours of the system laying dormant. Across the Hudson, in New York, the MTA brought some good news to the table, as Governor Hochul joined the agency to reopen the Rockaway Peninsula portion of the A train, as well as the Rockaway Park shuttle. The Rockaway Peninsula portion of both lines was shut for the past 17 weeks, as the MTA completed critical infrastructure maintenance and renewal over that period of time. Superstorm Sandy in 2012 caused extensive damage to the Channel Bridges and the Hamels Y, two structures that trains must cross to reach the Rockaway Peninsula from the main part of Queens. The 17-week shutdown allowed the Hamels Y, which allows trains to continue towards either Far Rockaway, Mott Avenue, or Rockaway Beach, to be fully reconstructed, and allowed the South Channel Bridge to undergo an overhaul. Upon closure, the Channel Bridges and Hamel Y helped move 12,500 riders per day over the Jamaica Bay. Additional work to signals and trackage will continue to take place during weekends through to 2026. Now, let's move out west to Minnesota, where a proposed rail service that would have connected Duluth and Lake Superior to the Twin Cities, the Northern Lights Express, was effectively killed. Minnesota's Senate passed House File 1143 by a 44-23 vote, which withdraws $77 million in funding for the development of the rail line, and also cut special education funds by over $20 million. The redirected funds are expected to be used for unemployment insurance for seasonal school workers. The bill now goes to Governor Tim Walz for his signature. State Representative John Koznick, chair of the House Transportation Finance and Policy Committee, has called the Northern Lights Express service effectively dead. In the Pacific Northwest, state governments have a different look at public transit. House Bill 1857 passed both chambers of the Washington State Legislature and now sits on Governor Bob Ferguson's desk awaiting his signature. The bill looks to improve Amtrak's Cascade service, setting a target of 14 daily round trips between Seattle and Portland, up from 6, and 5 daily round trips between Seattle and Vancouver in Canada, up from 2. While the bill does not allocate funding for the service, It is an integral part of the Cascade Service Development Plan, compiled by Washington's DOT to lay out a plan for Cascade service in future years. One current barrier to this desired service is Amtrak's rolling stock shortage, exacerbated by the sidelining of Horizon cars that ran in the Midwest and Pacific Northwest. However, if Siemens sticks to their deadlines and doesn't mess up on the production front like Alstom did, Amtrak expects the Cascade service to be the first to receive Amtrak's Aero equipment. Slated for delivery in 2026, it's part of a larger order of fresh rolling stock from Amtrak to Siemens, replacing much of the current stock on Amtrak's East Coast services, as well as on the Amtrak Cascades Pacific Northwest service. In Seattle, Sound Transit is gearing up for yet another expansion of its light rail system. The Link 1 line is expected to close early on weeknights at the Angle Lake Station, the current southern terminus of the 1 line, so crews can begin testing systems connecting the line to the Federal Way Link extension. The extension will bring the 1 line south along Interstate 5 through the cities of Kent and Lakeland North, before finding a new terminus at Federal Way. The expansion is expected to open in 2026, but Sound Transit has begun testing just a few weeks after the opening of their last expansion on the 2 line between Redmond Technology and downtown Redmond. To the south, Los Angeles is nearing the opening of an expansion as well. LA Metro is closing in on the completion of Phase 1 of the Purple or D-Line extension project, which brings the line westward under Wilshire Boulevard towards the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. According to the agency, the infrastructure has been laid and communication and power systems are going to be hooked up to the existing line in short time. Phase 1 is expected to open by the end of this year, before Phases 2 and 3, which would expand the line towards Century City, Westwood, and the University of California at Los Angeles, would open during 2026 and 2027 respectively. Now, let's make our first move to Mexico, where President Claudia Sheinbaum has attended railway groundbreaking ceremonies across the country. The first project is a 57-kilometer, or 35-mile, expansion of the Tren Suburbano line, which currently connects Mexico City to Cuautitlan. The expansion would connect Mexico City to Pachuca via Felipe Ángeles International Airport. The first phase, between Buena Vista and the airport, is scheduled to open later this year. The total 80-kilometer or 49-mile trip from Mexico City to Pachuca would take 1 hour and 10 minutes at its completion and is expected to be utilized by 83,000 passengers a day. Our last stop takes us to the Middle East, where Etihad Rail, a company of the federal government of the United Arab Emirates, has announced the beginning of its passenger rail service next year. The initial portion to open would run from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah, with stations in the major cities of Dubai and Sharjah, creating interchanges with local bus and metro networks. And that's where we come to a close in This Week in Transit. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Notice anything I missed? Be sure to comment it below. Thanks for watching this D-Transit video. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next week.